Real Faith. I'm your host, Cheryl, Lacey, Donovan. I have a girl here with me, Denika Carothers. And I think, you guys, if you've been following us on the broadcast and things like that, we've talked several times about this entire election season. Mm-hmm. And we are now where we are in this season with a new president-elect. Mm-hmm. And Denika and I were just talking about it earlier, and then she brought up some very interesting points that she says that kind of stood out to her about this election, and I was amazed by what she said. So we wanted to kind of share that with you guys today to maybe look at it from a different viewpoint, if you will. Lessons that we can learn from this.
What was so interesting is I have this empathic gift, and so I feel people. I really do. I feel energy, and so the night of the election, man, I was just feeling some stuff. Yeah. And I just knew what was going to happen because I had this feeling in my stomach. And the next morning I woke up and, I'm feeling the weight of everybody's emotions. And I was in the shower and I just really didn't know how to feel. And I said, God, I don't know how to feel. And then it was like, oh, light bulb went on. I get to choose how I feel in this situation. Mm-hmm. And so, when I came out of the shower and I made a Facebook post and I said, I get to choose how I feel in this situation. So this is what I choose to feel. Mm-hmm. I choose to feel extremely grateful that we are living in a time now where a woman can run for the most powerful office in the United States of America, the President of the United States. I said, and I also appreciate that somebody who had no political experience could become the president-elect. Yeah. I said, so what it tells me is that all things are truly possible if you only just believe, and I have been fashioned with possibility. Yeah. And this is how I choose to believe. Because, people were freaking out. I mean, people getting strokes, nerve trouble, high blood pressure. But as I conversed with people, I said, how does this really affect your day-to-day living in life? Mm-hmm. But what you're thinking up here is going to affect your everyday living.
Because we've had presidents before that we didn't like. I mean, there were people that didn't like Barack Obama, but I mean, life still went on. Your life didn't stop because those people were in office.
Right. But you get to choose what your life experience is. And if you choose to be fearful and worry, then what's going to happen? You're going to have those experiences. Let me tell you something, Cheryl. People don't understand this. And my children used to get mad at me when I was raising them because they would do this joking thing. I said, no, it's not a joke. You have to be very careful what you say because the power of life and death lies in your tongue. And they're like, mommy. So my eldest daughter, drove to Florida a couple of months ago, and so it was around the time when all of this racial thing, profiling with police and everything was happening. And so she kept saying, Mommy, I'm just so scared I'm going to get stopped. I said, girl, you need to let that go. I said, because that is going to be your experience if you don't stop focusing on it. Okay, well, this is my oldest hard-head child, so she don't really listen. She's the one who got a feel. She don't really hear too well. Yeah. And so how about she gets stopped by a police? Cheryl, this girl was not speeding because she had the cruise control on. She was determined she ain't gonna get stopped, but she keeps thinking about getting stopped, right? She wasn't doing anything. When the police officer stopped her, an older white man, she wasn't speeding. He asked her, are you drunk? She was like, no, sir. Do you have drugs in the car? No, sir. Well, you tipped on the yellow line.
Oh, wow.
But she drew this into her experience because it was what she was focusing on. Yeah. So she called me the minute they stopped. I was like, all right, Lord, look, we understand that she done draw this into her experience, but I'm claiming peace over this situation, so I'm going to need y'all to show up on the street now and take care of the situation because this is not going to be a bad situation. An older black police officer pulled up and had a conversation with her and told her that she could leave. But she had this experience because her thoughts were focused on being stopped or not wanting to be stopped. Whatever you focus on, you give it permission to come into your space. And if you speak it, you have already created that thing.
Wow. Wow. You know what, it's funny you said that because I know we also earlier, one of the lessons you said that you identified with this particular election is the power of life and death in the tongue, because you made a statement about Trump and the things that he would say over and over and over again.
We are going to win, and we are going to win big. Every time he got in front of a camera, that is what he said. And so my prayer is that people will see possibility, because we often talk about things not being able to change, and one person can't make a difference, and there's nothing that I can do. I like to talk about David a lot. Little David, all these big old soldiers, and David was like, I'm gonna go do it. And they tried to put all this stuff on him that he's not used to dealing with. He said, no man, take this off of me. I'm gonna use this, what I got, and you come at me with all of this stuff, but I'm coming to you in the name of the Lord. And see, we gotta realize at the end of the day, see, you either believe God is in control
or you don't.
You can't believe God is in control sometimes.
Yeah.
He's either in control or not. And somewhere in Romans it talks about that we got to be subject to those in authority, and that God is the one who puts leaders into position. So for whatever reason this is happening, I said it in a segment prior, pain will propel you into purpose, right? And people don't make a change until they become completely uncomfortable with where they are.
That is very true.
Right?
And this could be that kind of situation. I when I thought about it, I thought about the children of Israel wanting a king. I'm like, who wants a king other than God? If God was already your king, why would you want to go and get another human being as a king? That makes absolutely zero sense. But they did. That's what they wanted. Yeah. And guess what? He allowed them to have a king. Yeah. Not thinking that, okay, you're a free people, and I'm your God, and I'm providing and supplying everything you need, but now you want a king that's going to subject you back to servanthood, because he's going to need somebody to clean up his abode, wherever he was living. He's going to need somebody to take care of his cattle and all his other things that he has. But like you said, it takes us to a point where, now there's nothing left for us to do but to go back to him.
And that goes back to something we talked about in the earlier show as well. God didn't create us to be dominated. But here you are asking for someone to be put in place to dominate you. Yeah. And to control you. So be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you pray for.
Exactly.
Because when you get it, it don't always look like what you think it should look like. And that's what I'm interested to see what happens.
And could it be that it's because we don't want to exercise the fruit of the Spirit of our own self-control? We don't feel like we can really self-control. We need to have somebody else to. I don't know.
Or we want someone else to blame
when things don't go right.
wrong.
Yep,
right?
That could be.
Instead of taking responsibility. But, I go back to, something that we talked about before the election. Everybody needs to do some self-examination in this. Because as a country, as a nation, where are we when the two people who are running for the most powerful office in this country are two people who nobody really trusts?
Yeah. We'll be back in just a moment. Real life, real faith. Okay, so we're going to explore what, when we left, Denika made a comment, where are we as a country? When the two people who are running for office, nobody really trusts. And, that's a mouthful. And something else I thought about too is, I thought about Hillary, and I'm thinking, what does that say about you that when you ran against an African American president, you could not win, and then you run against this guy, and you still did not win? How must she have felt after that election?
Well, not only that. So let's take it back, right? Because by your words you shall be justified, or by your words you shall be condemned.
This is true.
So even when she ran against Barack Obama, she didn't have nothing good to say about him, right? She pulled him down. Donald Trump running against Hillary Clinton, bringing Bill Clinton into it. Yeah. How awful a man Bill Clinton is. Yeah. But Donald Trump was one of his biggest supporters when he went through his scandal, right? Yep. So you need to let your yay be yay and your nay be nay. Let truth proceed from your mouth. But see, this is the thing about politics. That's what I call it. Politics is a bunch of tricky stuff. It's dishonest. There's a lot of dishonesty in it. Yeah. Even Donald Trump said he was going to have Hillary Clinton, one of the first things on the agenda, have Hillary Clinton locked up. Well, he has since changed his conversation about that. with the Obamacare. This was the next thing. Well, now maybe there are some things about it that are good. But see, this is what people need to understand. You know, that president position, that's just an office.
It's an office.
You control your life. And what you do in your own life is going to affect you. Most people don't walk according to their own truth. Because I had a conversation with a gentleman. I was at a conference actually when it was election time. And I ended up sitting next to this gentleman. He looked Hispanic descent, you know, based on his name. And I said to him, I said, so how do you feel about the outcome of the election? Yeah. And this was something I had to do because I was saying I wasn't going to talk about it, you know, but then I had to talk myself through that. And he said, well, you know, he said, I voted for Donald Trump. He said, and not because I wanted to. He said, the reason why I voted for Donald Trump was because I was more afraid of Hillary Clinton becoming president. I said, that's interesting. I said, so why did you just not choose to not vote? Because what he's telling me is he went against his truth, right? He said, because a no vote would have been a vote for Hillary Clinton. And I said, I said, so if Bernie Sanders was running against Donald Trump, how would you have voted? He said, I would have voted for Bernie Sanders. But if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. It's like, why are you going to do something that you're really not in alignment with or you don't feel comfortable with? It's like, how many people compromise in their jobs? How many people compromise in their homes, in their relationships, because they don't want to walk according to their own truth? Have we become a nation of liars? A nation of dishonesty?
Well, I think that if you would ask that question of people overseas, their answer would be a resounding yes. That's what they feel. They really believe that, you know, it's a do as I say, not as I do type situation going on here. Because we have lots of stuff that's just not right. But then we want to go into other countries and tell them how to run their countries and what they should do and what they shouldn't do. You know, we talk about atrocities against their own peoples and things like that. Yet black men are being shot down, you know, in the back, you know, no less. For, you know, and I get it, why did you run? But still, I mean, there are other things that you could have done that would not have ended up with Walter Scott being dead, you know, and things like that. So, you know, they're looking at that and saying, okay, well, how can you come and tell me what not to do with my people and your officials are shoot people in the back?
But you know what another thing this election did? It exposed a lot of things that were under the rug. And my challenge now to America is, what are you going to do with what has been exposed? I don't know, I can't remember his name. He's a CNN commentator, a black gentleman, but he gave a very moving
I remember
kind of like speech, you know, and he was like, this is a whitewash. This is more so against a black president being in position. And you know, a lot of people gave President Barack Obama a lot of flack, right? First of all, the president don't run this country. And it's very difficult for you to do something, for you to affect something positive if your hands are constantly tied. And you know, the last 8 years, they made a decision that they were gonna tie his hands. I mean, they even communicated that very openly. You know, so it's like, how can you do something? You know, how can we walk together unless we be agreed, right? And as the president of this country, your focus is supposed to be the people. It's supposed to be the country.
All the people.
All the people and the betterment. That's why I have a problem with this African American, Mexican American, Chinese American, Asian American. It's Americans, period. Why do we have to be divided into all these different categories? We're Americans, and like you said, you're the president of all the people.
You know, I don't know.
But it's that oneness thing again. You know, I always talk about that. You know, one God, one faith. You know, faith is not attached to religion. Faith is a God connection thing. You know, we all come from one source. Why is there so much division? Why do you feel like you're better than me? Why do I feel like I'm better than you or deserve more than you? This is where people need to come to, Cheryl. So that place of love and heart. What is this telling me about me? Because I am the only change that I can effect.
Right.
But Gandhi said to become the change
That you want to see.
that you want to see in the
You have
world.
to become. You have to do that because nobody else can do it like you. And I believe all of us have something that we are supposed to be doing. If we would stop spending so much time looking over here at what Denika's doing, and I want to do this like Denika did it, or looking over here at somebody else, and I want to do it like they're doing it, and no. Find out what you should be doing. There is somebody in this world that is waiting on you to stand up and walk in your purpose, so that then they can be helped.
Yes.
But we get so distracted and so caught up in so many other things that don't even really matter at the end of the day.
And if I'm looking at what Cheryl is doing, because I'm drawn to Cheryl's spirit, I'm drawn to Cheryl's energy. Every time I turn around, I see Cheryl. Instead of looking at what God is trying to show me in my connection to Cheryl, because it was so ironic when you and I met like just a little over a year ago, right? And that was an answer to a prayer because, I had a television and radio show back in the Bahamas and I was telling God, I said, God, I want to get back into this. I know that this is a part of my calling. And then when you and I sat down the first time, your book is Women, What in the Hell Are You Thinking? And my book is Who in the Hell Do You Think You Are? And automatically it was like, okay, God, I hear you speaking. Now maybe I need to pay attention to Cheryl, Lacey, Donovan. And then shortly after that, you called me to be a part of this show. So look at the person from a place of, you know what? This is possible for me too.
Right.
I want me and Cheryl to do this together, or I'm going to support Cheryl and ask Cheryl to support me. Not that I'm trying to take anything away from you.
Exactly.
Or wanting what you have and you not to have it.
Right.
Because we're all connected.
We're all
Iron
connected.
sharpens iron.
Yes, it does. And I can do me, and you can do you, and we can do us together. And make some huge changes.
Absolutely.
Transform people's lives. But like you said, we get into that whole me, myself, and I mentality. I always say WIIFM, what's in it for me, and it just totally skews everything. And as a result of that, everything just stops. Because, I'm too busy, even in fighting with myself, to be able to move forward to where God really wants me to be. I'm in my own self's way.
But God said it's not good for man to be alone. So God gave us companionship. God gave us one another to help one another. No man is an island.
No man.
One put 1,000 to flight, but two put 10,000 to flight. We are more powerful together than we are apart. And that's what we need to start recognizing and just come together and build one another up and walk this journey together. How can I help you? This is how I need you to help me. And we do this thing. Do the damn thing together.
Well, with that, we will be back in just a moment. Real life, real faith. Real life, real faith. And, we've been talking about this entire election cycle and, what we have been left with at this point. And you made an interesting statement, and that is that at the end of the day, God is still in control. And we know that. Those of us who are believers, we know that, we believe that. And that perhaps Donald Trump is somewhat of a pawn in God's bigger plan to allow some things to be exposed.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that there are a lot of people, particularly African Americans and particularly younger African Americans, that perhaps thought that racism did not exist any longer because they didn't see it as overtly as you used to, because people are not riding around in the white sheets and the white pointed hats and things like that. Now they are wearing suits and ties and are CEOs of companies that they felt like it did not exist. But I agree with you. I think that some things have been exposed. Our eyes should be open. If they're not, we better hurry up and wake up. We need to stay woke, like stay woke, and pay attention.
But you see, the sheets did come. The boldness to wear the sheets again after this election came. But Cheryl, if you don't own it, you cannot disown it. You got to take ownership of the thing before you can disown the thing. And that's, let me tell you something. America is a great country.
Absolutely.
And America offers a lot of goodness. But with light, there is darkness. They exist together. Now, I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, and I said, darkness will never supersede light.
Never.
But if you don't turn the light on, then the darkness is the focus.
Mm-hmm.
The minute you turn the light on,
Mm-hmm.
the darkness flees. But if you don't turn the light on, then what you're experiencing is darkness. And it's time
I say
to
the
turn
light is on. I say it's coming on. It might be on a dimmer. It might be kind of low right now. I need to be lifted up just a tad. But yeah, I think hopefully if people are paying attention, the light should be coming on pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, God is in control. You either believe it or you don't. Yeah. And I really believe that Spirit is in complete control of this, because there are some things that need to be owned in order for them to be disowned. And if you continue to walk according to the same cycle, what's insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Maya Angelou said, if you want something different, you have to do something different. And it's time for America as a nation to take ownership of some stuff. Because there's some, see, when you build on a foundation, your structure is only as secure as your foundation. If your foundation is broken, your structure is going to be broken. We saw that a few years ago where so many houses were having foundation issues, right? And what was happening? Every part in the house was cracking up.
Yeah.
It was breaking apart.
Yeah.
This foundation has to be fixed in order for the structure to be fixed. Because if the head is sick, the whole body is sick. I'm sorry, it trickles from the head down.
Yeah, that's very true. And I don't know if we even recognize, and it is not just a one group type thing. All of us have some things that we need to take ownership of
Collectively.
Yeah.
Collectively.
And bring to the forefront.
Because nobody does anything to you that you don't allow. Because when you say that somebody has the power to do something to you, you're giving that person power over you. That person has more power in your life than you. That's a very dangerous thing.
It is.
So I prefer to take ownership of the fact that I'm allowing some stuff, right? Because if I created it, then I can recreate it, I can change it.
Yeah, and that's true. And then, a lot of people end up in certain situations in their lives and they want to blame it on everything and everybody else. When at the end of the day, you can't control what those other people did to you, but you can control how you react to it and how you respond to it. You can't control whether or not you allow it to continue to control your destiny and your future.
Right. And that's the thing with our people. You looking for everybody else to fix your situation? No one is going to be more invested in your stuff than you. It's time for you to do what you need to do for yourself. I was watching something the other day, again, these police things, I don't know. But, and then, so that person got off. And then there was a judge who said that a knife is not a deadly weapon. I'm sitting looking at the TV, I'm like, but if a knife is used to kill somebody, how could the knife not be a deadly weapon? And this was a case that was reopened and the parents are there and devastated, but it was someone who had killed their son. I'm like, but you got to do something about it. But we sit down on injustices and say, well, there ain't nothing I could do. You throw off your hands. Yes, there's something you can do. And if you don't do it, who's going to do it?
Who's going to do it? I think I said this once before about, we've heard these stories over and over again about these various injustices that are happening, and the outcomes of the trials are not what we expect, even though we're seeing something. We're like, okay, what are they seeing that we're not seeing? How did you come to this conclusion? But then, it begs the question, if I'm the family member and I choose to accept financial gain, then does that not then put me in a compromising position to where I really can't do anything?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And what you're saying is that my child's life was only worth $250,000. So I'll take the money because there's nothing I can do anyway. What does that say about you? But you have to own that. And unfortunately, too many people have sold their soul. Whether you want to say it's to the devil or to the law or to somebody else. Too many people have sold their soul. Why? Because of something we said in the past show. Material things.
Material things.
You're more focused on the material
than whether or not real justice happens and takes place. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm bashing or beating up on anybody, but you have to ask yourself that question. you know, was I really that helpless that the only thing I could think of was to, you know, get some kind of material, because I felt like that's all that this was worth. You know, this atrocity has been, or tragedy has come to my doorstep, and the only way that I can find a way to go through it or to get through it is to just take the money and run. And it's okay that the person that killed my child goes free.
But you're lying to yourself and not walking according to your truth. Because if you think that money is going to replace the life of your child or make you feel better, no, it's not. You could have all the money in the world and still be the most unhappiest person, the most saddest, depressed, grief-stricken person. But again, we don't want to own the truth. We don't want to. We looking for stuff to pacify all the time.
Yeah.
Looking for stuff to pacify, sex pacifying you, or drugs pacifying you, or food, or alcohol. You know, meet the person in the mirror head on. Yeah. It's you, and you are the only person that you can change.
Yep, that's so true. Well, it's been real.
It's been real, girl.
we made it through this election, and we are where we are right now.
And we're gonna be just all right.
We're gonna be just all right. I know I am.
I'm
gonna be all right. You know, we'll make it through this one just like we made it through all of the others in the past. I don't think it's gonna be any different. You know, they go and do their political infighting and flip flop with, you know, these different laws or whatever. If you change this one, when I come in, I'm gonna change it back. So it is what it is at the end of the day. Yeah. So we just want to remind you guys that you can hit us up on Real Life Real Faith with Cheryl, Lacey, Donovan. We're on Facebook. We're also on Twitter at Real Faith Mag, as well as on Instagram at Real Life Real Faith. And as always, we want to remind you that God can do exceedingly and abundantly more than you could ever ask or think, according to the power that worketh in you. Be blessed.